Hello, everybody. I have a wonderful guest here with me today. Please meet Alan Tutt. He is the head of the Power Keys website, and he has been serving people for over 20 years, working with the power of the mind. And today we are talking about creativity, such an important aspect of life and business. So, welcome, Alan. Tell us something you would like to share.
Well, welcome, Sandra Lee. Thank you for inviting me to your program here. Um, you know, the power of the mind is such an important topic, as you said, because without our minds, we really wouldn't be able to do anything. And most of us go through life thinking that we are only capable of so much and no more. And yet, I have always had this desire to push the boundaries, to see how far can we go? And do those limits truly exist, or are they merely shadows that cause us to hold ourselves back? And so that's kind of what my work has been all about.
I know today we're focusing on creativity and thinking about this as something that some people feel like they don't have. I want you to talk about that.
Oh, I can definitely identify with those folks because for a lot of my life, I felt like I was totally uncreative. Um, in fact, one of the worst situations was back in high school. I had a lot of self-esteem issues. I did not allow myself to truly express who I was. And I held back to the point where people thought that I was completely emotionless, that I
Mm.
really didn't express any emotions and I didn't express any creativity. And what really hit me the hardest was there was one afternoon I was at the skating rink with some friends, including a girlfriend that I had at the time, and she pulled me aside and said, "You know what? This just isn't working. You're like a computer. I can't relate to you." And it's like, "Oh, great. Oh boy, that's who I am." And so that kind of reinforced this belief that I was a certain way. And from that, there were a lot of experiences where I thought that I needed to be creative in one way or another, and the ideas just weren't coming. And yet, what I wasn't paying attention to was the times when I was creative.
Mhm.
It's one example, again, back in high school, I was part of a group that was trying to support one of our classmates for class president, running for class president. And we were in this brainstorming session and everyone was contributing ideas on what can we do as a marketing campaign to promote Mary as the class president. And I ended up coming up with an idea that they really loved. And it was like, let's do the tagline, Mary, the best candy date for president, and then put a little piece of candy on the thing that you hand out. And they loved the idea. They thought it was creative, they thought it was fun, and they ran with it. There's been a lot of other situations. I don't want to take too much time, but the bottom line is that after a lot of experiences and finally recognizing where that creativity was coming up, I finally accepted the idea that even though I thought I was totally uncreative, there was a source of creativity within me that as long as I was open to it, as long as I allowed it to express itself through me, then I was creative. So
So,
I believe that we're all creative. It's just a matter of have we closed ourselves off from that creativity and what do we need to do to open ourselves back up so that that creativity can flow?
how did opening up to that change your experience of life? Because it
Oh,
sounds like you were really shut down and then suddenly you started having this creativity expressed. What difference did that
yeah.
make?
Oh, that made a huge difference, huge difference. Um, I I have said often that one of the worst mistakes of my life was approaching everything as though it was serious work. It's like, in order to succeed, you've got to do this, you've got to do that in this way, and you have to be at your best if you're going to make a difference in the world. And I approached everything in that way, which the thought process was that, okay, I need to be better than I am. Again, those self-esteem issues creeping up. I need to be better than I am. I need to be at the top of my game. I need to be focused on doing things the right way all the time. And again, that kind of closed off the door of that creativity, because as we'll talk about later, stress is the number one killer of creativity. And when you're feeling stressed, like you're not enough, that just blocks the creativity. So once I relaxed and I opened myself up and I let that creativity come through, and I approached life as though it wasn't a life and death situation, that there was time to have fun and we could enjoy ourselves along the way. Number one, it was a lot easier. I was a
Mm-hmm.
lot calmer. I was a lot more peaceful within myself. But the most important thing that I really want to express here is that when I allowed myself to have fun with my work, I did better work. And I was able to achieve higher levels of success by approaching life as a creative play experience.
Oh my goodness. So I'm going to talk to the audience for a second. Okay, so all of you entrepreneurs out there who have been pressuring yourself, stressing yourself out to build your business and has to do this, has to do that, listen to what he is saying about how important it is to awaken the creativity. So tell us more about how this affects business people.
Oh, yeah. As far as business ideas, when you approach the business as a game,
Mm,
and you understand that as long as you are enjoying the thing that you are doing, you can try different ideas and just see how they work. And when you do open up that channel to that inner mind, which is creative, which is intuitive, which has access to so much more information than what we can process consciously, when you open yourself up to that database of information that can pick and choose everything that goes into this new thing that you want to do, those play experiences, the experiments to see, well, what happens if I do it this way? What happens if I do that? As long as you take the approach of, let's just test this and see what happens. And then if people like this idea, we'll take it further. You can experiment with so many different ideas. Um, find your pathway, find your spark of genius,
hmm
the thing that you could do better than anybody else. And when you find something where you resonate with your audience, when you resonate with your prospects and customers, and you find that point of contact between you and the people you serve, then you found a pathway to prosperity that is far more abundant than just looking at statistics, checking to see what are other people doing? How can I do what they're doing because they are successful? They're successful because they're resonating with their own authentic self and they're doing what they love to do. If you don't love it, you won't be successful.
So, audience, one of the things that Alan is an expert in is working with the power of the mind and manifestation. What he is talking about, when you're in that creative flow and experimenting and playing, it makes you much more attractive. And the opportunities and the things that are going to come your way will be way more fun. And you'll have more clients, more business.
Right. And what you just said there, when you are expressing your authentic energy, you become more attractive to the people that you are meant to serve. I noticed this in myself in the opposite side of it just a few months ago because I found somebody online, Eva Gregory, who teaches law of attraction and prosperity and business success. And she was part of a giveaway event that I signed up for in the coaching space. And so when I found her online and started watching some of the videos that she had posted, I noticed that her energy resonated with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that connection with her because of her energy, because of the way she expressed things. And even though there wasn't a lot of information that was new for me, I found myself craving more of that connection.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of, say, what was it? There were like 4 or 6 videos that she had posted about this workshop she had done. And at the end of that workshop, I was ready to sign up for a $3,000 program with her just to experience more of that energy. So I've felt that from the other side, and I'm kind of working at this side now.
Yeah. So, and thinking about one of the things that a lot of people tell themselves they need to do is they need to make video, but they're uncomfortable. They don't know what to say. And their creativity definitely gets stifled. Certainly,
Mhm.
anybody who writes it out, scripts it out, that's where I started. And it was awful.
Me
And
too.
it is so like uncomfortable watching somebody be that awkward on camera. So it's just
Mhm.
like just allowing yourself to be audience, just being yourself. I stopped writing things out a long time ago and I just like be myself and
Mhm.
let whatever it is that comes up come up. And who knows what inspiration is going to come up, what creativity, what, you talk about the inner creativity that just allowing it to come out, that the wisdom, that the real
Mhm.
gifts. And when you're being yourself, that's what makes you attractive.
Mhm. Yeah, I had that exact same experience. I knew I needed to do video. I knew I wanted to do video because I understood how effective it could be. But there were a lot of times when I would set up the camera, I'd set up the lights and the microphone, and I would get myself ready, and I knew what I wanted to talk about. And then I'd start talking about it. And then the writer part of me would say, well, that phrase doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Let's go back and redo that. And then I'd go a little further and, well, that didn't make sense. I think I'm going off in the wrong direction. Let me go back and redo some of that. And then eventually it got to the point where I'm going back and it's like, okay, and I'm thinking of referring to something I said earlier, but then I'm thinking, was that in this take or was that in a take that I'm getting rid of?
Oh,
And it just fell apart. And then so I took the direction of, like you said, scripting it out,
yeah.
getting a teleprompter, putting the teleprompter on the camera so that I can look at the camera and read the words as they're going by and listening to what that happens. It's like, oh, it sounds dead and lifeless. And so it takes hours and hours and hours of practice before you can actually read a teleprompter and makes it sound natural.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that really made me understand and was allowed me to shift into a different mindset was when you're face to face with another person, when you're having a conversation, you're not scripting anything out.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, we're able to talk fluidly. We're able to adequately express our ideas so the other person understands what we're saying. And maybe we flub something once in a while, but they forgive us because
People
if
can
they like
relate
our
to it.
energy and they follow along, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if there's a few mistakes here and there.
Yeah. It, audience, okay? When you make a mistake, you're being real and people can relate to that.
Hmm. Definitely.
And, looking at the creativity, what are the possibilities that can come up for people when they just allow themselves to just be creative?
What are the possibilities? As far as I perceive them, the possibilities are endless.
Mm-hmm.
Um, First of all, you're having more fun when you allow yourself to just be creative and not follow a strict set of rules and a process step by step. You have more fun, you do better work, You're able to connect with people on a deeper level. Um, you take advantage of that supercomputer that we call the subconscious mind,
Hmm.
that part of the mind that can manage thousands and maybe even millions of bits of information all at the same time, which is so much more than our limited conscious mind can comprehend. See, the way I look at it, the conscious mind has a function, the subconscious mind has a function. The function of the conscious mind is to pick a direction. I want to go there. I want to accomplish that. I want to have this experience. And then the subconscious mind is like the GPS system. We program in that destination that we want to get to into the GPS system. The GPS system is connected with all of the data as far as where the roads are and where you are and where the destination is and how do you get there. And it calculates the map, the pathway. And then here's the other part of that is that just like a GPS system, the conscious mind is at the driving in the driver's seat, holding the steering wheel. The GPS system is not going to drive your car. The GPS system is going to tell you where to turn
Hmm.
and how far to go before you turn again. And so the job of the conscious mind is to send the message of where you want to go down into the subconscious mind, program the GPS, and then listen for the directions that it gives you. And then to take action on those directions so that you don't miss your turn. Or else it goes into recalculating, make a U-turn.
So
So that's the
working with all those
relationship between the two.
pieces.
And I think that once you truly develop that connection and open up that channel and pay attention to what's coming from within, you get to where you want to go a whole lot quicker in style.
Yeah. So when you're talking about the subconscious mind, part of what comes to my mind is the limiting beliefs that people have. Because that's a lot of what I work with, right? Where are
Mhm.
people stopping themselves from moving forward with what they want? And
Right.
how is those traumas from the past blocking their creativity, blocking the flow of what's possible, and
Mhm.
holding them back?
Definitely. Yeah. The majority of my work over the last 20 years has definitely been in the area of belief and changing what you believe to support the life that you want to manifest for yourself. And for most of those 20 years, I've been focused on what I would call the metaphysical type of manifesting, where we tap into a higher power, send our request to that higher power, and then again, following the intuitive guidance to do our part to make it happen. But I've also seen so many different situations where things happen that cannot be achieved physically, like influencing the weather and that type of thing. But what we're talking about today doesn't get into that woo woo part of manifesting. We're talking more about physical manifesting, where it's like if you're hungry and you want to manifest lunch, you just go down the kitchen, you make yourself a sandwich. It's probably the easiest form of manifesting. Uh, it's interesting. There have been people that I've worked with where they want to develop these mystical powers where there's a book on the shelf across the room and they want to just focus on the book and have it levitate across the room so they can get it. And it's like, yeah, you can spend a couple dozen years making that happen, or you can just get up off your seat, walk across the room, grab the book, and you've got it.
Yeah. So, Alan, I know you've got a program coming up where you can help people make this practical, like take action on these things. Tell us about it.
Mhm. Okay. I think you're talking about the Celestial Brilliance program that starts tomorrow, actually. So we're just at the last stages of signing up for it. It's a live program. It's a 6-week program that goes starting tomorrow, Wednesday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And each of the 6 sessions, it's 2-hour sessions. And during those sessions, we work on each of 6 steps to open up the door and that channel between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind so that you can tap into your creative genius and let it express itself through you so that you can produce your best work with ease, have a whole lot more fun, and just relax as you are accomplishing so much more than you ever thought possible. So, yeah, that program starts tomorrow. The live version of the program, I don't know exactly when I'll do another live version. So, it may be March, the end of March, when I do the next one. However, I do understand that I will be creating recordings of this. So, I will at some point sell the recordings of the program. So, it's not only a live program, but those who are able to attend the live program, again, once we tap into that creative genius within, it's like when I'm with a group of people and I am leading them through these inner experiences, I can pay attention to how each person is responding, and I can customize how I am guiding that experience so that each person gets the best that they can get out of that experience. When you're creating a recording, once it's created, it's locked in. And if someone responds differently, then, well, maybe it doesn't work as well for them. So there's that whole context of the program. The program itself, the specific elements within that program, as I mentioned, it's a 6-week program. Each week focuses on a different step. The first step is all about getting rid of that stress. As you said, there's a lot of people who they're working on their business, they're trying to make something happen. What they have been trying hasn't been working very well, and they're at their wits end thinking, okay, I've got to make something happen and I don't know what, and they get themselves worked up into this little ball of stress, cutting themselves off from all the good ideas. And so the number one most important thing to connect with that inner genius and to allow those creative ideas to come out is to get rid of the stress. And so that's the first step. And we're going to be, again, the people who have signed up so far with this go around haven't been feeling a lot of stress lately. I have an intake form where they answer a few questions, so I know going in a few things. So this particular time, we may not be focusing on that quite so much, but that is the first step. Get rid of the stress so that you can relax, you can breathe easy. And when you relax mentally, your body relaxes. And so does that channel between conscious and subconscious mind. It relaxes, it expands, and the ideas come through so much more freely. Just to kind of quickly go over what the other steps of the program are. Step 2 is about opening up to infinite possibilities. And this gets into what you were saying about beliefs. We believe that only certain things are possible. We believe that certain things are impossible. And those beliefs, most of the time, they have been accumulated over time because we've heard other people express those ideas. We've heard people say, well, this doesn't work, that doesn't work. You can't make money in this type of business. You can't make money doing that. You certainly can't make money as an artist or a musician or that type of thing, which a lot of people have been told. And yet, if you look around, some of the most wealthy, successful people in the world are artists of one kind or another. I mean, we know of a lot of musicians that have sold millions of albums and they're living the dream life. And it's like, yeah, you can. It may be more difficult, but it is possible. So opening up that realm of possibility is the second step. Third step is going into defining who you are. Kind of like what I was talking about earlier about believing that I was totally uncreative, and then recognizing that I was creative in certain respects. And then as I shifted those beliefs about my creativity, more and more of it started to show up. And so step 3 is redefining your persona, that face, that mask that we all use to interact with the world. Because I'm a firm believer that when you really get down into the core of who we are a divine being. We are pure potential. Everything else is a mask that we wear. It's a costume. It's a role that we play. And most of us understand that we play different roles in different situations. Someone might be a mom in one situation, a wife in another situation, and a business leader in a completely different situation, but they're all still the same person. But they respond to things in different ways because they're fulfilling a different role. They're using a different persona. So step 3 is about looking at who you think you are, who you would like to be, and then implementing those changes so that you can be the person that you've always wanted to be. Step 4 is kind of an expansion of that and taking those changes that we've made in that session and amping them up to be stronger, more powerful, more enduring, so that you can truly be a master at what you do and own it. Because that, I think, is also a major weakness that a lot of us have, is that we know we're good at something, but we're not so sure that other people will accept us as the expert in that thing. And so we hold ourselves back. And so that's why step 4 is about owning your power, owning your expertise, owning your mastery, and being dynamic. And it doesn't mean that you have to be wild and crazy. It doesn't mean that you have to have a loud voice. It doesn't mean that you have to talk fast. It just means to be sure of yourself, to be confident in yourself, to know that you know.
Well,
And
and
when you have that,
when you have that confidence and you're just being, that's when your brilliance naturally shines
right,
without having to be something you're doing. You're
right.
just being.
Yeah, that's the step in the program where all the work that we've done on the inside starts to show up on the outside. And then
Wonderful.
the last two parts of that program, um, step 5 is about looking at the source of intuition inside and recognizing that you have access to far more information than you think you do. And I'm not necessarily talking about psychic abilities and reading the Akashic records and getting access to other people's minds, which is possible. I do believe in that, but it's not necessarily what we are truly accessing, because we have collected so much information over the course of our lives. We've seen people doing things. We've heard people talking about things. We have heard people talking about how they do things. And from that, there's a part of our mind that infers the thought process involved. And with all of that information, we can step into a new reality with information that we didn't realize that we actually had. It's kind of like the movie and eventually the TV show called Limitless. When you can truly access 100% of your mind and every bit of information that you've ever been exposed to is right there for you, it can do some amazing things. And then finally, the last step in this is what we call mastering the flow state, which is putting all of this on autopilot. So you don't have to think about it. You don't have to plan it. You don't have to orchestrate it consciously. You can train your subconscious mind to do things in a particular way that you want them done, and then let it loose and let it do its thing.
Sounds like an incredible program. So, we're going to have access to that program for you with the video. And if you are interested, now is the time because it's starting tomorrow.
Yep.
So,
Signups will continue through tonight. And if anybody does want to get in, they're watching this live stream or they're watching it soon after. Yeah, there will be time. And if you miss this one, I think the next one would be in March.
yes. So, Alan, what is something that you want people to take away? Like a coherent closing message that you want them to remember?
I think the most important thing is to realize that somewhere deep inside of you, there is a source of wisdom that can never be wrong. And that if you allow yourself to tap into that inner wisdom, you can pull out gems that can make such a difference to your life. And I want to just tell a quick little story with that. Back when I was a kid, I think I was probably 8 to 10 years old, I had a dream. And that dream has stuck with me my entire life. And in that dream, I was part of this small group of people who were working around the edges of a war zone. And we were doing things behind the scenes to try to end the war. And eventually that finished, the war ended, and our job was done. And in the dream, I went back home. I was going to my room. And in the hallway, before I got to my room, was a little table. And on that table was the teddy bear that I had as a kid. And because this is a dream and anything is possible, the teddy bear spoke to me and I listened. And it said this thing that has been such an incredible piece of wisdom for me. And what it said was, if you are alone, your forces indeed are small. But if you have strength and courage enough, it won't matter at all. And
Mm.
that's something I do not believe that an 8-year-old could truly come up with on their own. So it had to come from somewhere. But
Hmm.
that one phrase has stuck with me and has given me the courage to go out on my own, to be in the minority, to do what I needed to do when I needed to do it. Of course, I'm realizing that that didn't kick in until much later. There were a lot of years where it really didn't give me enough of a push, but it did resonate within me for my entire life. And now I go back to it and it's like, yeah, I really needed to listen to that more. So the the one piece of information I want everyone to realize is that somewhere inside of you is the wisdom that you need. And all you need to do is tap into it, be open to it, and listen to it, and then act on it.
Absolutely. So tell people how they can connect with you. And if they're not quite ready to jump in your course, maybe something that they can get to see more.
Sure, sure. I've set up a page on my website for this interview, and I'm sure there'll be a link somewhere close by. But it's powerkeyspub.com is the website. POWERKEYS short for publishing. Powerkeyspub.com/Sandra Lee, all one word, all lowercase. And so if you go to that link, if you go to that URL, there's a page that will give you two things. First of all, they'll give you a link to the Celestial Brilliance program that we mentioned. And then if you miss the live program now, one of the jobs I have to do later today is to change the page so that there's something available afterwards, either recordings or waiting list for the next go around. There's that option on that Sandra Lee page. There's also a free gift offer, which is a collection of 10 hypnotic recordings, because I have learned over time that one of the most powerful ways to create transformations within ourselves is through the process of hypnosis, of relaxing, going within, connecting with that divine mind within, as I call it, and then making the changes there. The changes can be made so quickly. There's a set of 10 recordings that I call the Fresh Start Collection. It gives you everything you need to make a fresh start in your life, to change direction and set your pathway along a more positive direction here. Okay, I'm starting to get my conscious mind involved here. It's not flowing as well. But there's two things for you. There's a free gift of 10 recordings. That is a value of $129. Yours free. And then once you've signed up for that, you will be on my mailing list. You will get notifications and announcements of things that are happening. And over time, I do continuously send out emails at least once or twice a week with helpful tips that you can use to make a difference in your life right from there.
Thank you so much, Alan. And for you watching, thank you for watching either now or on the replay. Definitely take advantage of what Alan is offering. Thank you,
And I
everybody.
want to thank everyone for being here as well. Yes.